Hello, this is Jamie with Supplierty. On today's small business news for May 7th, 2021, we're going to be talking about the recent jobs report that came out for the month of April. It was not good news for the economy or the Biden administration. So we're going to talk about what that could mean, as well as President Biden's response to those numbers. But before we get started, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you follow the channel, the YouTube channel, leave a like and comment, as well as share this content with other users who you think may be interested in this information. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So, kind of had some key points in terms of what happened today, what this means, and my list of 5 reasons that this could have happened, slash kind of what where this is going in the future. Now, first up, U.S. businesses added just 266,000 new jobs for the month of April. Now, for people who may just be kind of coming in saying 266,000, why is that bad? The reason being is because economists projected that about 1 million jobs would be added in April, right? So if you are saying that 1 million jobs are going to be added, about 1 million, and you hit 26% of that number, that is never a good thing. So President Biden actually had to come out and speak about it, which I'm going to get into in the next slide. But again, the numbers were really, really bad considering what they were projected to be. So what happened? Obviously, it's complicated to say the least. Many theories around it, which we're going to get into right now. So reason 1 is unemployment benefits. So reason 1 and 2 are actually kind of the liberal slash conservative, if you will, or Republican Democrat is a better explanation in terms of why the job numbers are so bad. So Republicans, their reasoning and the thing that they're going to be pushing over the next couple of weeks, I'm sure, is that the unemployment benefits are just too generous, right? Giving people money made sense. I think everybody can agree. Last year and I can't remember the first half of last year for sure when the pandemic was first hitting. But Republicans have been arguing time and time again that we no longer need these unemployment checks. It's going to keep people at home. People are going to feel as if they don't have to work because they're getting these checks. It's going to disincentivize them to going out and getting jobs. So that's going to be the big push that Republicans are going to be making. These jobs numbers, you can argue, will help them and better argue that point. I believe that they're going to be making the, less unemployment checks, and we need to open up more, which is, these numbers are definitely going to strengthen that argument. Reason 2, over on the Democrat side, is that we're actually not spending enough to create jobs, right? And the really big piece that they're going to be pushing, as well as what President Biden was pushing in his speech, is his infrastructure plan, right? The 1.8 trillion infrastructure plan, where he's trying to improve, things like roads, broadband, things like that, environmental piece to that as well, which, regardless of if you're conservative or liberal, everyone says that is going to create jobs. Now the long standing of those jobs is up for debate, but that is, everybody is pushing that is going to create jobs. And with this number, jobs obviously are needed. And that is, what the Democrats are going to be pushing in terms of, hey, we need to really push this infrastructure plan to get these jobs going. So reason 3, a couple points that I just kind of have on my own, if you will, reason 5 is actually pulled straight from the Hill. But reason 3, lack of states opening, right? And again, that's obviously what Republicans are going to be arguing, but there is truth to that, right? There are states like Florida, Texas, a couple other states that are, have now fully opened. People are getting back to work, but there are a lot of states that are not. Right, there are a lot of states that still have restrictions in place, and whether you want to admit it or not, this is having a negative effect on small businesses. Right, small businesses cannot, open up to their full capacity. That means that they're not going to have the customers that they were having pre-pandemic, so they're going to be losing money because of that. We also have small businesses that haven't opened, that aren't, that are still closed, and again, a large part of that is because states haven't opened. Now, President Biden has, obviously been pushing vaccinations, and stating that, the vaccinations once they go into place, that'll help when it comes to things like jobs. I've given time and time again reports, studies that have shown that the projection is that around the summer, end of the summer, to be more specific, is when everything's going to be open, across America. So, in my opinion, if we're looking at that August number, August month, I should say, that's really when we should really see some large numbers being hit. So, or I guess July, August numbers should be seeing some really big increases in terms of jobs, if based on the president's agenda and based off of what small businesses are stating in these types of studies. Reason for it, consumers not confident in spending with businesses, right? And again, this goes back to the study that I've been mentioning time and time again over the past couple of weeks. Even the businesses that are open, small businesses that are open, it's already been reported that consumers are not spending the same amount that they were spending pre-pandemic, right? They're spending 75, 50% at best, and with and in some cases even less than 50% in what they were spending pre-pandemic. I think a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty. People aren't sure, with their own jobs. If new restrictions are in place, then they lose their job and now they have to save money once again. So I do think more people are just saving until everything's opened back up and people are back to normal when it comes to that. But if people aren't spending as much, that means that you're not going to hire as many people. In addition to kind of coincide with that, small businesses have reported that they are having a tough time hiring in the current environment. I'm not going to push that too much. As I thought about it kind of over and over again about small businesses saying, it's tough to hire. That's actually something, I've been covering small businesses for the past, 5 years ish. And to be completely honest, that's something that small businesses have always reported that they've had issues with, is hiring qualified people for certain jobs. So that's just really continued into the pandemic and onward. So I wouldn't really, while it is important to note, since it's not something that's changed, or it's not something that's either grown or decreased. It's just something that's always the case. I'm not going to push too much to that kind of moving forward. Lastly, reason 5 is childcare. Now, this is really important because the bulk of the people who have lost jobs during the pandemic have been women. But as you can see here, according to The Hill, as overall employment rose, female employment dropped by 8,000, while female labor force participation dropped by 64,000. So even as we're growing, women are not finding jobs at the pace that they were, pre-pandemic. And again, the reason being for this, or at least the assumption, is childcare, right? Having to, with their children at home because of the pandemic, somebody has to stay at home to take care of them. We do have a lot of single mothers in this country, and because of that, they now find themselves at home or having, a difficult time finding people to take care of their children. Something may be said in terms of like kind of family planning and how we operate as a community, just in this country. But the facts are the facts. We do have a lot of single mothers now compared to previous generations, and because of that, and now that we're in a pandemic and kids cannot go to school, there are issues with this in terms of working as well. Which I think that is really big importance as we're looking as to why women may be having a hard time finding jobs or aren't going into full employment or employment in general. So closing remarks. So while I kind of list out the 5 reasons in terms of why this huge drop may have existed, the truth is it's just one report, right? We're literally coming off of the previous report where over 900,000 jobs were created, which was well ahead of estimates. And at that time it was the fastest growth since August 2020, right? So we're literally coming off of almost record, or not almost, but really good report, and now we're seeing a huge drop. So it's if we would have based off of the last month's report, everybody thought everything was going well. Now this report, everybody thinks everything's going terrible. Which again, it's just one report. If this is a trend, that's when we need to start worrying. Trends are what really are big issues here, especially if this continues. So if we're still in the 200,000s, President Biden needs to significantly change his strategy. But again, that's if this continues. But we'll see, right? Because both parties, who are the leaders and are going to determine what the strategy is moving forward, are going to be pushing their own agendas. Obviously, Republicans are going to be saying we need to open up and give people less so that they'll be forced to go to work. And Democrats are saying, hey, let's give them a ton more and create jobs by spending, which, potentially could inflate the economy or inflate our dollars even more. So there's pros and cons to what both are saying, but that's essentially where we're at today. All right. So President Biden, I probably should have said President Biden. I apologize for that, but he did give a speech where he spoke about, hey, kudos to him. We saw a huge drop and he got out there. I don't know if it was pre-planned. If it wasn't pre-planned and it was something that he decided to do, then kudos to him. If it was pre-planned, then, I take that back. But regardless, he came out and, he spoke about what happened, his thoughts, and what his strategy is. So, the recovery is a marathon, not a sprint. I kind of put that at the very beginning because that is true, right? Even if we had have hit 1 million, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to continue, right? Like, the important thing is what happens a year from now, right? A year and a half from now, 6 months from now. That's really the importance when everything is opening up. So while this is bad numbers, I give all presidents like that first 9 months in office kind of a little bit of a benefit of the doubt because they're pretty much going from whatever was implemented by the previous president and kind of turning that over into their own agenda, and that just takes time. I gave that time frame with President Obama, gave that time frame with President Trump. There's actually videos of me talking about giving him that time frame. If you go back and look at our earlier Supplierty news videos. So first 9 months, I'm always going to give you that 9 month kind of 6 to 9 month time frame to where you have to get in your agenda. It's interesting because point two, President Biden kind of admitted, well, not admit, kind of, he did admit that his plan for job creation, well, for right now at the very least, is more about getting people back to work. So he's not really, which is pretty interesting admission. Like he made it pretty clear he's not really looking at trying to create new jobs right now. He's just looking to get people back to work. I think I can't remember the exact, but millions of jobs have been lost and have not come back just yet. And that's his main focus. Like, hey, my goal is to get people back to work, from what they were doing previously. So yeah, I don't even know if you could call that job creation, but that's essentially what his plan is. And, I saw in some places people were like kind of making fun of him on that, but I mean, it makes sense, right? Like you lose millions and millions of jobs. Like we lost tons and tons of jobs. And I mean, that it makes sense. Like that should be your main focus. Like, all right, we got to get people back to work. Once we get people back to work, then we can create new jobs. So, while people were making fun of him for it, I didn't understand, why people were like that. Of course, that just seemed like the most logical thing for him to do. Next up, he says jobs won't come back in 1 month, but in the month of May, it will start. So that was kind of a little bit of I don't know how much I liked that particular comment. Like, hey, I've got this because last month he was all about I've implemented my strategy. It's working great. We've got over 900,000 jobs. We're doing great. Now it's like, well, it actually hasn't gone into effect just yet. We'll see how it goes. It's just starting now. So I didn't like that kind of turn of events there. But regardless, I do agree that this is a long-term plan, and especially for the small businesses that are listening to this. Again, I continue to say, I mean, you can look at my recent videos. The summer, that is when we will see if his strategy works, right? That's what we're going to see the type of, what is the Biden plan and how effectively it's working. All of this, it's happened in April, May. It's important, but again, the summer, and again, I'm pulling this from studies from small business owners who are saying, what do you think? How do you think of the pandemic and the plan and what's going on? And the small businesses have said, essentially, we'll see in the summer when things open up. And then lastly, President Biden pushed his infrastructure agenda. Again, I said on the last slide, and I'll say it here, this is clearly going to be the big push now. When you come back with numbers like that, luckily for him, if you want to call it luck, he already has initiatives, which he timed them pretty perfectly, that he's saying, hey, will help us grow with these terrible job numbers. He can now push it even harder and say, hey, I knew that this was coming. This was like, I knew that this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Poor numbers may have been, may have happened, but hey, this is the plan, the infrastructure agenda. I know this is going to fix things. So obviously that's going to be what's going to be pushed over the next couple of months. Again, I've said that that's going to be really good for small businesses. So I don't know how much it'll be about, the value of our currency and whatnot, but small businesses getting a lot more opportunities. I do think that'll be helpful. So, with that being said, that's it from me. Another talk on President Biden and his initiatives. We've been seeing a lot of things happening over the past couple of months. So, pretty good content, if you will. But we'll see how it goes, especially again as it relates to the coming summer. With that being said, as always, if you like the content we provide, make sure you subscribe to the video channel, leave a like, comment, and also share with other users you think may be interested in this content. All right. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.